My name is Park Yun-seo, and this morning, the manager who threatened to have my visa revoked if I didn't work 18-hour days is staring at a locked office door while I am being handed the keys to my own future. There is a deep, cinematic patience in true justice. It doesn't always arrive with a scream. Sometimes it arrives with the quiet rustle of a new contract and the realization that the empire you built on the backs of others has been dismantled stone by stone. In the sprawling, sun-bleached landscape of Los Angeles, they thought my silence was weakness. They thought my exhaustion was a sign of a broken spirit. They were wrong. Have you ever been trapped in a situation where someone used your legal status to exploit your hard work? Share your story in the comments below. I moved to Los Angeles from Seoul 5 years ago, driven by a passion for the artistry of textiles. I am a buyer, a woman of touch, color, and fabric. I joined a major fashion firm in the heart of the city, hoping to bridge the gap between Asian craftsmanship and American markets. But the firm's directors, led by a man named Gregory Vance, saw me only as an asset to be squeezed. Because my work visa was tied to the company, Vance used it as a leash. For months, I was forced into unpaid overtime, working until my eyes burned under the fluorescent lights. While Vance reminded me daily that one phone call from him could send me back to Korea with nothing. I was a ghost in the office, surviving on caffeine and the hope that my hard work would eventually earn me my freedom. I processed millions of dollars in orders while living in a tiny apartment, my bones aching with a fatigue that no amount of sleep could cure. I kept my head down, I stayed polite, and I endured the mockery of my colleagues who called me the company mule. I thought I was alone in my struggle. I didn't know that someone was watching. Choi Sung-ho is a man whose name carries the weight of history in the districts of Seoul. He is a Korean mafia boss, a man of absolute authority and terrifying intellect who operates behind the veneer of a global shipping magnate. He was in Los Angeles to negotiate a massive textile supply chain deal with my firm. During those long, grueling negotiation sessions, I was the one translating every document, verifying every thread count, and serving tea while the executives laughed. Sung-ho didn't say much during those meetings. He sat in his bespoke charcoal suit, his eyes like polished obsidian, watching the way Gregory Vance spoke to me. He noticed the way my hands trembled as I poured the tea. He noticed the dark circles under my eyes and the way I flinched whenever Vance raised his voice. He didn't intervene. He didn't cause a scene. He simply watched, his expression as unreadable as a mountain. "You look tired, Miss Park," Sung-ho said to me once in our shared tongue during a brief moment when Vance had stepped out to take a call. "It is my duty to work hard, sir," I replied, bowing my head. "There is a difference between hard work and being consumed," he said softly. He didn't offer me money. He didn't offer to talk to my boss. He simply looked at me with a profound, quiet respect before turning back to his papers. For the next 8 weeks, life continued as usual. Or so it seemed. Vance became even more aggressive, pushing me to finalize the Sung-ho deal under impossible deadlines. "If this deal doesn't go through, Yun-seo, I'm calling immigration," he would sneer, leaning over my desk. "You're the only one who can talk to these people. Don't fail me or you're on the next plane home." What Vance didn't know was that while I was working in the office, Choi Sung-ho was working in the world. He wasn't just negotiating a deal, he was conducting a symphony of destruction. He didn't attack Vance directly. Instead, he spent those weeks quietly acquiring every single supplier our firm relied on. He bought the silk mills in Vietnam, the cotton plantations in India, and the shipping lanes that brought the fabric to Los Angeles. He strangled the company's lifeblood without ever making a threat. The climax arrived on a Tuesday morning. I arrived at the office at 6 a.m., as usual, only to find the glass doors chained shut. A group of men in dark suits stood in front of the building, turning employees away. Gregory Vance was there, his face a mask of panicked rage, screaming at the men to let him in. "This is my building. You can't lock me out. I have contracts. I have investors," Vance shrieked. A black sedan pulled up to the curb and Choi Sung-ho stepped out. He moved with a calm, predatory grace that silenced the street. He didn't look at Vance. He walked straight to me. "Miss Park," he said, nodding in greeting. "I believe your time at this firm has officially concluded." "What is the meaning of this, Sung-ho?" Vance demanded, rushing toward him. You signed the agreement. We have a partnership. Sung-ho turned his head, his gaze so cold it seemed to freeze the morning air. I signed an agreement with a firm that no longer exists, Gregory. Your suppliers have canceled their contracts due to your history of labor violations, which I have spent the last month documenting. Your investors have pulled out because your credit lines are now owned by my subsidiaries. You are not a partner. You are a bankrupt man with a very long legal battle ahead of you. Vance's face went pale. You did this? For what? Because of her? He pointed a trembling finger at me. She's just a buyer. She's an immigrant. She is a woman of honor, Sung-ho replied, his voice a low, lethal velvet. And you are a man who thinks power is a license for cruelty. You used her visa to enslave her talent. Now I will use my power to ensure you never manage so much as a lemonade stand in this city again. Sung-ho reached into his jacket and pulled out a gold-embossed envelope. He handed it to me. This is a new contract, Yoon-so. You will be the director of my North American textile division. It includes full legal sponsorship, a salary that reflects your true worth, and a seat at the table where decisions are made. You are no longer an asset to be squeezed. You are the partner I have been looking for. I looked at the envelope, then at the man who had dismantled an entire corporation just to restore the balance of one woman's life. Why? I whispered. Because in my world, Sung-ho said, we value the foundation. And you, Yoon-so, have the strongest foundation I have ever seen. Justice is a slow process, but when it arrives, it must be permanent. Vance was left on the sidewalk, a broken man in an expensive suit, as the federal investigators arrived to begin their audit of his fraudulent labor practices. He tried to speak, but the words died in his throat as the men in dark suits led him away. I walked with Sung-ho to his car. For the first time in 5 years, the weight on my shoulders felt like it had been lifted by the wind. I wasn't just a buyer anymore. I wasn't just an immigrant afraid of a phone call. I was Park Yoon-so, and I was under the protection of a man who understood that true power is the ability to defend the dignity of others. The aftermath was a masterpiece of deliberate, permanent change. The firm collapsed, and its assets were absorbed into Sung-ho's empire. I moved into a beautiful office overlooking the city, where the lights of Los Angeles finally felt like they belonged to me. I hired a new team, ensuring that every person who worked under me was treated with the respect and fairness I had been denied for so long. I remember sitting in a high-end restaurant with Sung-ho a few months later. The city was a sea of lights below us. You could have ended it in a day, I said, thinking back to those long weeks of exhaustion. An explosion is loud, but the smoke clears quickly, Sung-ho replied, sipping his tea. I wanted to make sure there was nothing left for them to rebuild. I wanted to make sure your safety was guaranteed forever. That takes time. I realized then that his silence during those meetings hadn't been indifference. It had been the silence of a man measuring the depth of a grave. He had watched me be exploited so that he could learn exactly who to destroy and how to do it. I am Park Yoon-so. I am a leader, a visionary, and a woman who knows that justice doesn't always come with a shout. Sometimes, it comes with a quiet man in a charcoal suit and the permanent end of those who thought they were untouchable. My life is no longer a struggle for survival. It is a cinematic journey of power and grace. My daughter will grow up knowing that her mother was never a mule. She will know that her mother was the woman who stayed calm while a mafia boss rearranged the world for her. And she will know that in the end, the person who works with integrity is the only one who truly survives. As the sun sets over the Pacific, I feel a peace that is absolute. The past is a closed chapter, and the future is a vast, beautiful fabric waiting to be woven. I am safe, I am powerful, and I am exactly where I was always meant to be. The justice that Choi Sung-ho brought into my life wasn't just for me, it was a message to the world. Some people are far more expensive to hurt than you can ever afford. The city is quiet now, the contracts are signed, the balance is restored, and for a woman from Seoul, the American dream is finally, beautifully, real. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more Mafia love and justice stories. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.